I'll never forget the first heartbreak I had. It was freshman year, brand new to the college scene. I had a girlfriend for 3 years going into college. I was so excited to be going into this new chapter in my life with my girlfriend, a very important moment in young Sealz' life. And then the very first week, to keep the story short, I found out that she cheated on me. Going through the rest of that semester as a freshman with a heart split in two, it became the best moment in my young life to one of the worst moments in my whole life. But thank God I was able to get out of that, and I'm here today to talk about it. To talk about that pain, to talk about that experience, to help y'all and those who need it. But I also made some mistakes afterwards, trying to get into a relationship too quick because I just needed to fill that void. I was heartbroken, so my mind was messed up, making rash decisions. We're going to talk about all of that in this video, but today I'm going to talk about the questions I ask myself, or the questions you should ask yourself before getting back into another relationship after a heartbreak. So before I start, make sure you follow me, subscribe, like, comment. I'm so thankful for all your comments, your positivity, your feedback, and your support. And if you haven't, go binge on all my videos. I got a lot for y'all to watch. All right, so let's get started. I believe it's very important to talk to yourself, to ask yourself questions, especially in moments like this, where you just got your heart broke and now you met another person. It's good to ask yourself if this is the right time, if this is right for you, period. But there's some specific questions I want you to ask yourself if you're in this position, for anyone who's in this situation right now. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, am I healed or am I working on it? Am I healed from this past trauma, from whatever heartbreak it was, for whatever the cause was? Am I healed from it? And being totally healed from something is so much easier to say than do. So I also want you to ask yourself, are you working on healing yourself? Are you doing things to get better from this hard time? The reason why I want you to ask yourself this question is, it will give you a gauge on if you're even ready to jump into another relationship. Because if you watch my videos, you know I prioritize me. I prioritize and I always tell y'all to prioritize you, to prioritize your world, because you are most important to you. If you don't take care of you, how can you take care of others? If you don't work on the love of self, how can you work on the love with someone else? And it's not impossible to get into another relationship and not be fully healed or not know how to love yourself. Sometimes other people can teach you how to love yourself. Totally possible. But what I want you to do is start with yourself and work on yourself, because you deserve that. Put yourself in a better position to be in a new relationship so you don't have to depend on someone else or something else. The next question I want you to ask yourself before getting into a relationship after a heartbreak is, will my pain travel to this person? Because if you are not healed, then it is most likely that you're still harboring pain, that you're still going through it, going through the motions, that your stress and your sadness and your anger is still dictating your decision making or your emotions. Do you want to transfer that to your new partner? You don't, because they don't deserve that. They had nothing to do with your heartbreak. It's not fair. And I had to learn this personally, because after I got into another relationship after my heartbreak, which I wasn't ready for, I began to blame my new girlfriend for the things my old girlfriend did. And it almost seemed like not intentional. It just happened because I let the pain override my decision making. I let the sadness override my feelings. So now I have someone who has nothing to do with my heartbreak going through it as much as me, because I'm transferring it to her. That's just not fair. So I want you to ask yourself, will I allow the stresses of my past relationship to transfer to my new partner? Because the pain from a heartbreak is almost like a crack in the mirror. It starts off small, but then it slowly spreads, and it spreads erratically. There's no order to it. It just goes, it just moves. And before you know it, in the blink of an eye, you have a huge crack in the mirror. Now the mirror is ruined. Will you spread that crack into this new person's life? Because if this is possible, if you think you will, then you are not ready to be in a new relationship. The next question I want you to ask yourself before getting into a relationship after heartbreak is, are you still in love with your ex? This is an interesting one. Because no matter how big the heartbreak is, no matter how tough it was, no matter how damaging it is, a lot of people still remain in love with their ex. And it is because love is so deep. It's hard to just get out of it or eject yourself out of it, because you built this thing, especially the relationships that were over years, that were built over years. You constructed this love with this person. It's deep in you. And for a lot of y'all, this is all y'all know. Some of y'all been with y'all first love for your whole life. If that's all you know and now it's over, it is not easy to just get out of that. And you'll hear people say, "No, I'm good. Oh, please, I've been over that. It's nothing." But most of these people are full of crap. and trying to seem like they're okay. Because deep down inside, they are not. And they still want that person. They are still in love with that ex. The thing with love is it takes time to get out of a real love and then try to start something else. It takes time because it took time to create that love. It's kind of like when people get fat or obese when they were at a smaller size at one time. It takes time to accrue that fat, to build that fat. So you cannot expect to lose all that fat in 1 week, in 2 weeks, even a month, because it took time, years for that fat to collect together. It would be foolish to think it would take a week or some short time period to lose it all. It's just not realistic. The same thing applies to love. So if you ask yourself this question and the answer is yes, that you still are in love with your ex, then you know you are not ready to start something new yet. It takes time. So take your time. The next question I want you to ask yourself before you get into another relationship after a heartbreak is, am I looking for the love I'm comfortable with, or am I willing to break the cycle and go after something that's better for me? Now think about this. Think about all the exes you've had. Are they all similar in some way? Was there something that attracted you to them that they all have? And were they all failure? If so, that might be because you're comfortable with something, some trait, some characteristic that they all had. Yes, it might be good to you, but it wasn't good for you. And that is why none of them worked. Are you willing to break that cycle? Are you willing to get uncomfortable and be open to something that's better for you and not the typical thing that you're comfortable with? We're all human and we all have our faults, but we also have our wants, our lust. We always have something that we want in every man or every woman. But is that want good for you? Because if you look at your past relationships and all your failed relationships had this thing that you want, then maybe, just maybe, it's not good for you. And maybe it's time to change up. One of the worst parts of growth is that it hurts. Growth is hardly ever a fun thing 100% of the time. Because you are stretching, you are breaking walls, you are breaking barriers. You are changing things that you're used to, the things that you're comfortable with. Those are not fun things to be a part of. It hurts to grow, but it's worth it. Because one thing about being comfortable is it's fun. Most of the time it doesn't hurt. And you're used to it, so it's easy to get stuck in it. So if you get stuck in looking for the same things in your lover, you will be stuck in the same situation and the same failed relationships every single time. It's a cycle. Are you willing to break that cycle? Are you willing to change your mindset? Are you willing to listen to your inner self? Are you willing to talk to God and ask for honest advice about yourself? Are you willing? And the last question I want you to ask yourself is, what have I learned from this hurt that I'm feeling from this heartbreak? And what am I willing to do to make this never happen again? Or to increase my chances of detecting it earlier on in the stage. One of the best sayings that apply to this is those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. If you don't learn from your past because you didn't sit down, you didn't evaluate why it happened, so you are not preparing yourself for the future. I want you to ask yourself, I want you to sit down and evaluate your past relationships. What were some of the things that were similar in my failed relationships? What happened? What was their part? What was my part? What was our part? What can I do to learn from this and be honest to myself, take it in so that this history does not repeat itself? Even the things I do not have control over, how can I help myself and put myself in a better position? I would rather you try to prepare yourself than not do anything at all. Yes, we don't have control over everything, but we do have control over ourselves. Put yourself in your best position. Alright, so if you are in this position, if you know someone who is in this position, send them this video, because you should definitely ask yourself these questions before jumping into something else, especially after heartbreak. It's not an easy task. So thank you for coming back and watching my videos. I will see y'all on my next video. Have a blessed day. Peace and blessings. Goodbye.